Welcome back, everyone. If you've been itching to pull back the curtain on artificial intelligence and data analytics, well, you're in the exact right place. Today, we're unpacking the critical concepts that literally power the digital world around us. So let's just dive right in and see how this whole shebang works together. Every single day, you're generating data. But do you actually know what kind? I mean, think about your own invisible digital footprint for just a second. Every time you tap your phone, send a quick text, buy that morning coffee, or just mindlessly scroll through a feed, you are leaving a massive trail of information behind. And grasping the different types of data you generate, that is the absolutely crucial first step before we can even begin to understand how AI processes it all. Okay, here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, the data you generate. Second, structured data basics. Third, the unstructured data world. Fourth, correlation versus causation. And finally, some common beginner data mistakes. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the data you generate, the raw materials. Moving right along to Section 2, structured data basics, organizing the chaos. So to truly understand AI, we've got to look at the raw materials of the digital world. I mean, you wouldn't try to build a house without knowing the difference between wood, brick, and steel, right? Same exact logic applies to data. Structured data is essentially highly organized information, perfectly formatted into searchable categories, like your classic rows and columns. It's totally predictable. And because it follows such strict rules, it fits seamlessly into traditional systems. Honestly, when you think of structured data, just picture a neatly labeled filing cabinet where every single piece of paper is exactly where it's supposed to be. For example, think about a standard employee record. You've got specific columns for an ID number, a name, a department, and a salary, and then specific rows for people like Jane Doe or John Smith. This is exactly how structured data lives in databases. It's so beautifully orderly that programming languages built for databases, like SQL, can easily read, query, and pull insights from this stuff in literally fractions of a second. And you interact with this kind of data constantly, probably without even realizing it. We're talking employee records, your daily bank transactions, those massive sales spreadsheets your company uses, or the inventory systems at your local grocery store. These are all perfect, everyday examples of structured data. But as neat and tidy as this all is, it's really only one side of the coin. Which brings us to Section 3, the unstructured data world, the messy reality. Now, here's a pretty surprising realization for you. That neat, structured data we just talked about, it actually makes up only a tiny fraction of the world's total information. Compare that rigid neatness with unstructured data. Unstructured data is free-form, it's messy, and it completely lacks any strict formatting rules. Historically, computers really struggled with this. Sure, they could store it, but they had a remarkably hard time extracting any actual meaning from it, compared to just, reading a simple table. So why is that? Well, because unstructured data is exactly how we humans naturally communicate. It's your emails, those random PDFs sitting on your desktop, your late-night WhatsApp chats, images, audio clips, YouTube videos, medical scans, and pretty much all of your social media posts. The sheer volume of this data is absolutely staggering. It's messy, it's super nuanced, and for decades, it was incredibly difficult for traditional machines to make heads or tails of it. But hey, this is exactly where modern AI steps in, specifically through things like embeddings and vector search. At a high level, these are the massive AI breakthroughs that finally let computers make sense of all that chaotic, unstructured data. Basically, by mathematically translating text, images, and audio into formats that the computer can actually map out and compare, AI can finally understand the messy reality of human information. It's a total game changer. Okay, moving on to Section 4, correlation versus causation, thinking like an analyst. Now that we've got a handle on what data actually is, we really need to shift our focus to how we think about it responsibly. Because understanding data types is great, but establishing a critical analytical mindset, that is what prevents you from falling into some massive logical traps. So let's define our terms. Correlation is just a statistical measure showing that two distinct things move together or have some sort of relationship. One goes up, the other goes up, or, one goes up, the other goes down. It's simply an observation that variables are moving in tandem, without making any assumptions whatsoever about why they're moving. Causation, on the other hand, is a direct cause and effect relationship. It's where one specific event directly makes the other thing happen. I really want to pause here and stress this sharply. Just because two things move together in the data is absolutely not proof of cause and effect. Actually, scratch that. Confusing these two is arguably the single biggest mistake people make in data analytics. Let's look at a classic, highly relatable paradox here. Imagine you've got data showing ice cream sales increasing at the exact same time that drowning rates increase. The statistical correlation here is incredibly strong. So if you just looked at the numbers blindly, you might conclude that eating ice cream causes people to drown. No way, right? Obviously, that direct causal link is completely missing. The missing piece to this puzzle is what we call a confounding variable. In plain English, a confounding variable is a hidden factor that's actively influencing both of the things you're measuring. In our ice cream example, that hidden factor is simply summer weather. When it's hot outside, more people buy ice cream. Also, when it's hot outside, more people go swimming, which unfortunately leads to more drownings. Ice cream doesn't cause drowning. Summer drives both of them. This perfectly illustrates exactly why the context around your data matters so much. And we see this everywhere in the real world. Think about umbrella sales and rainy days, or advertising spend and revenue. When you see a company's revenue spike at the exact same time their advertising spend spikes, did the ads cause the revenue? Or did higher revenue simply give the company a bigger budget to spend on ads? A good analyst must always look for these hidden confounding factors behind the numbers before jumping to any conclusions. Which leads us to our final part, Section 5, Common Beginner Data Mistakes, Traps to Avoid. Consider this part a fast-paced cautionary tale. As you start your journey into AI and machine learning, there are several logical traps you've got to actively avoid. Let's run through this punchy checklist to keep you empowered. First, as we just discussed, assuming correlation proves causation. Just don't do it. Second, ignoring data quality. If your raw data is garbage, your AI's output is going to be garbage for sure. Third, treating unstructured text like structured table data. They require entirely different analytical tools. Fourth, drawing massive conclusions from terribly small sample sizes. And finally, forgetting the context matters. Remember, data without context is just noise. So let's take a quick step back and recap our journey in this explainer today. We started by understanding the raw, messy materials of data, contrasting the neat, predictable rows of structured data against the wild, free-form reality of unstructured data. Then, we developed the rigorous critical thinking required for true machine learning and decision-making by untangling correlation from causation. To wrap things up, I want to leave you with this final, pretty provocative thought. The best analysts don't just analyze data, they question what the data is really telling them. As you step out into the vast world of AI, remember that the numbers in front of you are really only the beginning of the story. It's your human curiosity, your ability to spot context, and your dedication to asking the right questions that truly unlocks the power of data. So, what is the data in your life actually telling you? Thank you so much for exploring this with me today, and keep questioning the data around you.